Thanks, Laskin Corla. Taoiseach, the government is committed on paper to a major programme of retrofitting of homes, which makes all the sense in the world from the point of view of the cost of living crisis, allowing people to significantly reduce their energy bills, and from the point of view of the climate crisis, allowing people to significantly reduce their energy usage. It makes all the sense in the world to do it. But the reality on the ground is very, very different. I'm dealing with a woman in her late 80s, living in a council home in Tallaght, who has single glazed windows, as is very common still in council properties across South Dublin County Council. Not only that, she cannot shut her kitchen window. And she's facing now into another winter of being unable to keep her home warm. She's been waiting 15 years for the council to deal with the windows. Right? This isn't about some big, deep retrofitting, which is really what should be taking place, even just to deal with the windows. We have multiple cases of that, of people with entirely inadequate windows. The council isn't dealing with it. In terms of retrofitting, the council plan between last year and this year was to do 363 homes by the end of this year, out of a total housing stock of 10,000. This simply isn't good enough, Taoiseach. Will the funding be provided by central government to ensure people like that woman and others in that position are able to get, the basic standards in terms of getting their windows done and getting their homes retrofitted?
Boyd Barrett raised Jennifer Bray's analysis in the Irish Times, which I have to say I thought was reasonably fair. Wouldn't have agreed with it at all, but I thought it was reasonably fair and not as negative as he put across. Acknowledged good progress on overall home building, on first-time buyers and on social housing, but pointed out that we're falling behind targets on affordable purchase schemes. And we know that and we accept that. And it's an area where we're going to need to focus more on. That doesn't mean less focus on social housing or homes to buy in the normal way, but it means a bit more focus on that, particularly by the LDA, which will lead on a lot of those projects. Just in terms of public housing, there are many different forms of public housing. There's cost rental, there's social housing, there's council housing, there's housing built by approved housing bodies, there's housing built by the LDA, there's the tenant in situ scheme. It can be built and it can be bought. And I think there's too many people trying to drill down in statistics to diminish what's been achieved by not looking at social housing and public housing in the round, taking one aspect of it, which might be direct bill by councils, and saying that's the only social housing being built. That's deeply misleading, and it's not the reality on the ground. I have the pleasure to meet people from time to time when they've moved into new social housing projects, and they're delighted to be there, delighted to have a secure tenancy and an affordable rent. They never raise with me issues around whether it was the LDA that built it or was it approved housing body, and I think there's an academic interest in that is not reflected on the ground with real people in the way it is in the media. Deputy Boyd Barrett mentioned people in emergency accommodation for more than a year or 2 years in some cases. Roughly a third to half of people who require emergency accommodation from the state are out of it within 6 months, most within a year. And I agree it would be useful to have a better analysis and a better understanding as to why there are people who are in emergency accommodation for more than a year or two. There may be complex reasons. I've dealt with some of those cases. I know what some of the reasons are, but I don't have a document that tells me, gives you a breakdown as to what the reasons are. And I think that would be useful, and I have discussed that with Minister Bryan already. In terms of retrofit, we're ramping up to about 35,000 retrofits this year, which is pretty good going in my view. So every year now we're building or retrofitting about 60,000 new homes, and I think we can improve that further. Then just finally, Deputy Murcu's question about modern methods of construction. We are using them. OPW does. I know Fingal County Council does in my own constituency. We have the Construction Technology Centre in Galway. We have a demonstration park in Mount Lucas. But modern methods of construction is a very broad term. It ranges from factory-built homes that last for 30 to 50 years to whole slabs of concrete being brought in. It's a term that people use correctly, and it's a better term than modular, I think, but it means lots of different things and works in some places and not others. But we are using it already, and we're going to use it more in the years ahead. Yeah, that's with Minister O'Donnell, and a decision isn't made on it yet. But it recommends changes to the income thresholds, recognising the fact that people earn more than they did before, and also increasing the amounts of grants given, recognising that the cost of construction has gone up, but hasn't been formally signed off on yet.